Hi. Hello and welcome to Knock Knock Hi with the Glockenfleckens. You are Kristen Flannery.
That's right, Lady Glockenflecken.
And I am Will Flannery.
Dr. Glockenflecken.
I decided to switch it up and introduce you first.
I did notice that.
Did I throw you off?
No, you can't throw me off. I can just roll with the punches.
You're with it. You're with it. We got a great show. We have Dr. Siyamak Saleh.
That's right.
Is a big deal on TikTok. And so we'll get to that conversation here shortly. What's been going on in our lives?
Oh, what has been going on? You know, we've got these kids.
Yes. We actually last week was the first week of track. I signed our youngest up for track.
Right. Which, by the way, she's 8 years old. Maybe it's just a function of where I grew up. We didn't have a lot of options and stuff, but doesn't track usually start at I don't know, at least junior high, not high school?
The program, it starts I think you can be 7 years old. So she's not even going to be the youngest there, but 7 up to 13, 14 or something. But the reason I signed her up for it is just because she is constantly wanting to race me.
Yeah.
At all times.
She loves to run.
She loves running and racing. And so I was like, oh, well, this is perfect.
Yeah.
And
she's very competitive.
But the problem is with maybe it's just our kids, but I feel like it's most kids. They change their minds
constantly
about everything. Like one day she was like super excited about track. She was like, oh, I'll sign her up. It'd be great.
Yep.
And then like the day before I told her your first practice for track is coming up, it was like, I don't want to do that.
Whose idea was that?
And then, but I signed her up. Like I paid $200 for this thing. And so I was like talking to her, like really talking it up. Like, this is going to be great. It's so fun to like race and run and jump. There's javelin. There's a shot put where you throw
all the things we tell her not to do in the house. Yeah, exactly. She can go do.
Like you can do all these things, and you'll get to race people, and you'll get to it's competitive, and it's anyway. All the thing I was trying so hard to sell track to an 8-year-old, and like from a 10,000-foot view, it probably sounded ridiculous. Like, why are you trying so hard to make this happen?
That's how I feel about it. Yeah.
Mainly, it was just like I thought this would be fun for her, and so anyway, I got her excited again about it, and so we went. And then the one thing though I failed to really think about was the fact that this is in Oregon, in the Portland area, in April, and so there were 3 practices. That's the other thing. This track program. It's three times a week we're doing this.
That's really intense.
For an 8-year-old,
yeah,
3 times a
week. That's ridiculous. It's too much.
So I was like, okay, well, let's just see how it goes. But it was pouring rain all week. And they made a point of saying, we're having these practices rain or shine.
Right. That's what we do here.
So.
Because it's always rain.
Probably no surprise to anybody. It didn't go well the first week.
Sure.
And so this week we're starting week 2. And it's a beautiful sunny day. It's going to be nice all week. So I told her, let's give it another week. And I was like, we got to get to the first like track meet, because I think she'll really enjoy actually competing as opposed to like just practice where it's raining and cold and you're running up hills.
Right.
For what seems like no reason in particular.
I've got mixed feelings about the whole thing. I mean, as you know, just kids this young in sports that are that much of a commitment. I don't know. What happened to just like setting them loose in the backyard and they run around all afternoon?
Well, we live in a different time.
We don't have a backyard.
We don't have much of a backyard. But also, you don't have a competitive bone in your body.
I don't.
I grew up playing all the sports. And
I played them too, but they're just supposed to be games. They're supposed to be fun, and you learn some things along the way about teamwork in life. And I understand the educational value of athletics, okay? But
listener,
she's 8 years old.
I can't tell you how many conversations we've had just like this over the years, because again, there's zero competitiveness in your core, in your soul. I am quite competitive.
Right, but you have to at least, I mean, see the logic in the fact that this is supposed to be for fun,
Yes,
especially at these ages.
it is, and so I'm trying not to push it. I really am not. In fact, I'm like, I don't want to go to track 3 times
Yeah,
a
I
week.
don't either, that's the other thing. When
So
are we supposed
so
to be
maybe,
adults? We're
well,
just being chauffeurs
I
for
know.
all these
So
activities.
maybe we'll
Ugh.
just do like 2 practices a week. We'll just like forget about the third one. I think that's more reasonable. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, we're gonna give it a shot. I think she'll really get into the shot put. They're like, oh, for the eight and unders, these are your options. You can do sprinting, you can do javelin, or you can do shot put. So we'll see.
This
An
seems like a
8-year-old.
bad idea.
That's I don't know. I mean,
Giving 8-year-olds long sticks to throw and
oh, it'll
heavy
it'll be
balls.
fine. All right. Well, let's get in. Speaking of balls, let's get into our guest, who is an expert in sexual health and education about sexual health, in particular on social
Right.
media. So this is Dr. Siyamak Saleh. He is a medical doctor in South Africa, and he has a little niche online with sexual and reproductive health. Has over 3 million followers on TikTok. He does just great education,
Debunking myths.
debunking lots of myths. There's a lot of myths out there with regard to sexual and reproductive health. So
Right,
it's
there's not a lot of great, formal education about it around the world. I mean, even in America, there's some, but it varies by location. So what he's doing is really important.
yeah, we need it. We need it out there. So and he's also practicing in an area around Cape Town, South Africa. So we had a very fascinating conversation about a lot of different things. And so I don't know, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Here is Dr. Saleh. All right, Dr. Siyamak Saleh, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Such a pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor being on your podcast.
Oh yeah, and so you're coming to us from you're in South Africa. You're
Yes,
in
I
Cape
am.
Town, is that right?
Yep, true,
And
true.
we established before we started recording that it's evening time for you. So it's you spent a whole day at work, and now you get to talk to a couple random people from the internet. Here you go.
Random, very famous people.
I first off just want to say, so I was looking at I've seen your videos come across on TikTok. You've got a large following on TikTok, and I also Googled you. I Google search myself every now and then just to see like what pops up, and I
Oh
just want you
boy.
to know that one of the first things that popped up for you was of 5 things you can do that's bad for your penis. I I hope you don't mind, that's just one of your videos that popped up whenever I kind of was searching for your social media
I'm sure
presence.
your mother would be very proud.
Okay, so I agree with the first part. I'm not sure my mother is very proud. She's tried to talk me off speaking about sexual health, and that is the reason why I'm doing it because of all the
Mhm.
stigma around it,
Mhm.
all the taboo. So I'm not sure if you have scrolled down my profile to very beginning. I used to raise awareness on various medical conditions, women's
Yeah.
health, HIV, COVID, and I used to debunk myths. I think I have like a 10 series of like medical myths. And one day I was like, let's me debunk some period myths. And that video got more than like almost 30 million views. Then it
Oh,
was
wow.
then when I realized that um, actually because of the comment and the question I used to get, I realized that not many people are aware of their own sexual health. Until
Mhm.
today, I get questions of I kissed my boyfriend and my period is delayed. Am I pregnant?
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think I took this responsibility, or I'm on a mission to empower
Yeah.
people about their sexual and reproductive health.
I think it's fantastic. It really is. Like there's I mean it just the response you've received just over the last, because this has just been since the pandemic started, like 2020 is when you got started on
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
And so it's a fairly meteoric rise, and clearly the public needs it, right? This is a huge gap in knowledge because people just don't like to talk about sexual health and reproductive health. And so I think it's fantastic. So just right off the bat, everybody Go if you not even if it, you just want to know things other than the bad things to do with your penis, but anything. There's you have so much content and it's so informative. And so I just want to give you your props on really
You two need to do a
taking.
collaboration about testicles. He
Yeah,
can't stop talking about his
I
testicles.
yeah,
He doesn't even have them anymore,
I
and he still
used
can't shut up
I
about them.
I know. It's I'm sure I could probably learn a thing or two about the testicles I used to have from Dr. Saleh, but so did you, I mean, you never it sounds like you kind of just fell into this topic just because you saw a need from the public, but what is your typical job like? So I want to get into what you do on a day-to-day basis because you have a very unique job and in a unique place in the world. And so tell us what about your training and what your normal non-TikTok related life is all
Okay.
about.
So, first of all, I want to apologize in advance if I say something wrong in English. English is my third language. So, I am
Oh,
Persian.
that's all. Just
So,
just the third.
Your
I'm
third wait, third of how many exactly? Because
Yeah.
four.
I have a sense that four
Oh my
languages.
goodness. We should be apologizing to you
Oh
that it's the
man.
only one we know.
Yeah. I know ophthalmology. That's the only other language I know.
That's the
But
best language to know. So, I'm
no worries.
Persian. I was born, grew up in Kuwait. I studied medicine in Moscow, and I came to South Africa around 15 years ago to do research. I work in a primary healthcare facility in a very rough area in Cape Town, formerly known as murder capital of South Africa for like 6, 7 years in a row. So
Ooh.
on a day-to-day
Man.
basis, we have stable patient in the outpatient department and our trauma unit, which is a 24-hour. We get to see lots of action. And one reason I've stayed there for more than few years is because I studied medicine to save lives. And you can save lives on a daily basis there. Lots of stab
Mhm.
wounds, gunshots. Um, Patients come half dead, and that's when you come in and try to stabilize and refer them to a tertiary hospital for further management.
How did you how did you end up in South Africa though? So you because you went to med school out in Russia, you said, right? And so what is it that brought you to that part of the world?
So after I finished med school, I applied everywhere, and University of Cape Town offered me a research post with paid tuition fees and a scholarship. And I googled it. Cape Town is a
Say no more.
Yeah.
very beautiful place.
Scholarship.
Check.
Cape Town
I've
is
heard
a
it's wonderful, yeah.
it's a very
South
beautiful
Africa is
place.
beautiful.
It's a very beautiful place. I wanted to study somewhere where I can also live and enjoy the beauty of this country. So that's how I came.
Yeah. At that time when you came, did you know it was considered the murder capital of the world?
So um, Cape Town is a very different. So Cape Town is not the murder capital. That small area that I'm in is the capital. Is the
I
murder
see.
capital of
Okay.
the South Africa. So
Oh, I
I
see. Okay.
didn't know such places existed in my first few years of research because you live in one part and then you don't know about the other part. Like you don't. It's very it's like very poor area, and then
Mhm.
other side of the road is a modern place.
Sure.
So, so once I started working in a clinical setting, then I was like, okay, maybe Cape Town is not the best place for everyone because
Right.
of those rough areas.
It sounds like you how long have you been there now? How many years have you been working in your current capacity?
6 years.
6 years, and you're enjoying it? It must
I've
be really fulfilling to be able to help, so many people from different
it is
backgrounds.
very fulfilling, but I think I always tell myself, I think I've saved enough lives.
Yeah.
I really, I
That's
really,
the way I tell myself that too as an ophthalmologist. I've saved plenty of lives.
I think
I've
it's
saved more lives than you have.
That's true. Yeah, probably.
A grand total of 1.
Yeah.
so it's much more rewarding
Mhm.
educating people on via social media. So if I can, let's say, treat 20, 30 people a day, one video can get you like few million views and you educate at least few thousands. So that is probably for me is much more rewarding experience, and hopefully one day I can do that on a full time, because then I can give 10 times more um, contents,
Sure.
ways of doing it, because after day of work you are mentally drained and exhausted, and you
Mhm.
still have to come home and you still have to research 4, 5, 6 hours to post one video. Initially
Mhm.
I could post anything, but now when you are up there you need to research properly.
I totally agree with you because I mean the further as an ophthalmologist, I know very little about other specialties, and so the longer I've been doing this, I totally sympathize with you. I have to do a lot more research to like try to make it seem like I know what I'm talking about, right? And so and you know, sounds like you have a stressful job, but you've also been on the front line of the pandemic. So I'm sure just the accumulation of the stress over since 2020 has been very challenging. Was and you did a lot of content surrounding public health and talking about the pandemic and your experience in South Africa. And you could speak a little bit about the toll that being on the front line in a place that you're in had on you.
Of course, I mean, if you look at my social media you can see pretty much the whole of last year till now I've been a little bit more quiet,
Hmm.
not producing that much content, and I'd like to blame it on burnout. Um, it was so we were at the front line of the pandemic, and again, my area of work, where the area I work at, they were the epicenter of the COVID pandemic in Cape Town. So we used to get lots of very sick patients. We saw lots of patients pass away while waiting to be transferred to a hospital. Um, and my escape was I joined TikTok at that period and started educating people. And within few
Hmm.
months, WHO approached me and asked me to help them collect more medical, more healthcare workers who can fight the misinformation online. And that's when we had a group of healthcare workers, and we collaborated in
Hmm.
fighting the misinformation, which was great cause. But it was like you wake up some days with 5,000 hate messages.
Mm.
It's
Yes.
I think
Yes.
I've
I can
matured.
imagine.
Yeah, I've matured enough through the process. And now when the hate comments come, I'm like, thank you for boosting my videos.
Yep.
Well, that's a very, like, mature way of looking at it, but it's also that's a question I get asked a lot as well, is how do you deal with that? Because it never feels good to, put so much time and effort into creating something and then to
And have
have
really good intentions around it and
yeah,
trying to do a good
just trying to
thing.
help people, and
Yeah.
then you're faced with these types of comments, and so was that hard for you to get to the point where you're at now, where you're able to let it roll off your back, or does it still bother you? I don't know. How do you feel about
No, I think
all the
I've
hate messages?
it was difficult. Initially, I wouldn't lie. I used to
Mhm.
sometimes like get into argument with them, and then once you get verified, you can't really go and argue with everyone. And WHO actually set up meetings for us to talk about such instances and how to deal with it. Um,
Hmm.
I think you have to go through it to mature up. It's like a process. Now these days, you will get hate whether you talk about COVID or about smoking or about masturbation, anything. Medical myths. So much hate I get just for telling them you don't get flu from going out in the cold or having a wet
Right.
hair, things that your mom tells you all the time. My
Mhm.
mom told me that. How dare you? I'm like, I'm really sorry, but that's how things are.
Right.
So, so
Or
yes,
masturbation is going to give you hairy palms or something, right? Like
exactly.
all those just crazy things
I
that
have
yeah.
few of those videos you should watch. Uh,
I know. I was scrolling through your list of videos, and the myths you debunk are great. So,
Thank you. So I just ignore them these days, and if
yeah.
it really bothers me, I delete it. That's it. I don't
Mhm.
go further discussions. I don't argue.
There's no point, and I mean,
There's
they're
no
not
point.
there to be convinced of anything else anyway, so yeah.
Yeah, it's well, the first really one rule that I try to tell people is you never get mad online. It's whenever I've been in situations where I just got so mad at something someone said to me and that it prompted me to engage, and it never helped. It never made it better, and everyone left just even more pissed off about the whole situation. So it's I think learning how to ignore that stuff is really important, and also just like trying not to read comments period sometimes is also helpful. I don't know.
It's tricky though when you are doing something like trying to educate or advocate or any of these things because you want to see if your message is resonating, you want to see if people are understanding correctly, you want to see where they're not understanding correctly so like you're doing a little bit of almost market research by looking through the comments. So I can
It's true.
sympathize that sometimes you have to wade into the comment section even when you don't want to, and so you see some of these things even if you don't, I try to just skip over them instead of read them, but it's hard
Yeah.
to do that sometimes.
How do you get your ideas?
Oh, there is so much ideas. I have lots of. I've Googled ideas. I have top 10 most asked question about sexual health. Uh,
Yeah.
and most of my ideas generally comes from people asking me to talk about this or about that. I make a video about, let's say, periods or erectile dysfunction. Then they want to know the treatment. So there is no lack of ideas.
Right.
Just
Do
needs
do you keep a
few.
do you keep a list? Do you have like a whole list of things that
I'm probably gonna
you're
steal
just
your producer after this show, so they can have.
man.
It's been a one-man show for me this whole time, so
Yeah.
I think I'm proud of myself. Reached so far by myself, but I think I need a few other people on the team because it's not
Let's
something
talk.
we will
We
talk
got I could
afterwards.
give you some tips, yeah.
Because you can't trust somebody else to do your medical research for you, and that's what takes
Mhm,
most of the time, which is 4, 5, 6 hours. Sometimes you know something, and then
mhm.
you research the latest information, and you're like, "Oh, there's an article came 3 months ago that says otherwise," and now you have to cancel your whole like script to whatever you wrote.
Yeah.
So
It's, and you're, as far as, doing having to do a lot of research because I mean, a lot of the things you're talking about probably are not something that's just at the forefront of your mind because you have such a wide breadth of things that you do in your day-to-day job as a physician. Um, and so just give me just a little bit more background on your training. So you do med school. At what age, like, did you go to Russia and start med school? Is that I'm just trying to compare it to my experience here in
18.
the US. So it's 18. So it's kinda so we go to college or university, for 4 years before we start med school, but I found that lots of places out in the world kinda
Mm.
combine the 2, right? So you finish med school after X number of years, and then it's just immediately start working, or do you have additional training that you do after that?
So I did a year of internship in Moscow, and through I'm not sure if I should tell all these stories, but halfway through my internship, I was attacked by skinheads.
Oh, wow.
It's a neo-Nazi group that attacks anyone that is not white. So I was
Mm.
Oh my
black in
gosh.
Russia, but I'm white in South Africa. But we can talk about this later. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
This is halfway through med school this
no,
happened?
halfway through internship, which was something
Oh,
extra. I
and
was doing
oh,
it by my own. It wasn't a compulsory one.
I see. Okay.
So yeah, so I have few fractured bones in my face.
Oh my
Oh my
gosh.
Yeah,
goodness.
so you can imagine how good I looked back then, you know?
Well, yeah, I
So
probably would have seen you as an ophthalmologist. We get called for every, orbital fracture for
yeah,
sure,
yeah,
but
definitely, yeah.
that's terrifying. Was that did that, did you ever think about staying in Russia for to work long term? Or I imagine after that, you were like, "Get me out of here."
No, I
Yeah.
was strong enough to stay for a little bit more, and then I finished that, and then I applied everywhere. And Cape Town, University
Yeah.
of Cape Town, was the one that said, "You can come. We pay your tuition fees. You pay your scholarship. You can help us with research." And I was like, "Why not? I'm on my
Yeah.
way." So here, um, so once you have internship, you can work straight away.
Mhm. And are you so it's mostly outpatient for you now,
Yeah.
right? You're doing primary care.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So
All right.
primary care at our clinic, we have an HIV unit because of the HIV epidemic in
Mhm.
South Africa. We have an outpatient department and we have an emergency unit where we stabilize patients. And if
Oh,
need to be
okay.
referred, then we refer them to a tertiary hospital.
Oh, I see. So you're dealing with some emergency types of things too, and
Yeah,
so
of
okay.
course. Yeah.
That's all that sounds harder than my job.
Yep.
I posted one weekend when I did went to work to do rounds. We looked at the monitor and list of the patients that were triaged. Out of the 17, I think 16 of them were stabbed. I
Mm.
posted
Oh my
that. Yeah, I
god.
took a screenshot,
Wow.
put it on my Instagram. I lost some followers afterwards. I think it was a bit too much for everyone, but that's the
Yeah.
area I work in. So it's
Yeah.
people get
Lots of
drunk
trauma.
and
Yeah.
start stabbing each other.
And you do have some, you did share with us some interesting stories, that are, that are some trauma related. I I can tell you're worried about, like, really scaring our audience, which you probably could. You could probably scare us too because, at this point in my career, I don't see a whole lot of trauma, but, I do want you to tell this one story, about you mentioned drunk patients that you tend to see a lot of those,
Oh,
um, and so there was a missing finger.
oh.
Is
So
that right?
yes, I remember this patient. It was I think around 3, 4 in the morning, and this patient comes, and I think he was stabbed in his hand and cut one of his tendons. So he couldn't use one of his fingers. So I
Mm,
sutured the finger, the wound. We discussed it with the hand surgeon at the tertiary hospital, and they accepted him to go there for to sort out his ligament. So I'm trying to tell this patient that if you don't go to the hospital with the ambulance, you might not be able to use your finger in the future. And he's a 19, 20 years old. And he's like, "No, I want to go home. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm going to go home." And I'm like, "No, you need to go to hospital because of this issue." And then he stops for a second and starts counting his fingers. And he goes like, and he says, "Doctor, I have 9 more fingers. I'll be fine."
Oh my goodness.
I mean, he's got a point,
He has a
so
point.
you
I was,
could,
we both started laughing. I'm like, "Good point." But no.
you could do a lot with 9 fingers, I suppose.
Depending on which finger, like I feel like your thumb is pretty important, but
Yeah, you
maybe
wouldn't
some of
wanna
the
lose your
others you don't
thumb.
miss.
Do you have access to all the different types of specialists where you are? Or
Yes.
do you find yourself really, stretching your skills to the max?
I think in Cape Town is a more the healthcare system is better than other cities in South Africa. So we have access. We can pick up the phone and discuss any
Mhm.
case with a trauma surgeon, ophthalmologist, ENT, and
Nice.
they're always helpful. Yeah.
And is the healthcare, I love when we have people from, other parts of the world who come on this podcast because we get to talk about healthcare system a little bit. Obviously we got a few problems over here, but how is it structured in South Africa? Is there a universal healthcare type option for people? Do you have any privatization? What is it? How does that work?
So we have public sector where it says government hospitals and it's free for majority of people, and we have a private sector where you can have medical insurance and your insurance will help you pay. So lots of our patients, they have medical insurance, and once they run out of funds in their insurance, then they come to us, for example. So we have both, but there is no one is denied medical care because you can always go to tertiary hospitals, and because they are teaching hospitals where go through residents and professors, and so you get probably one of the best cares in the public sector also. Yeah,
Right, I imagine you have to stay on the forefront of what's happening when you're at a teaching hospital,
Yeah,
seeing the new research that comes out and things like that, or making the new research.
exactly.
exactly.
Exactly
Or
that.
making the TikToks that
Or the
inform
TikToks.
the entire world. Uh, are you? Do you have a teaching role in your current job?
Yeah, so we do have interns that come through primary care rotation, and they come to
Mhm.
us. So we have interns that come through, and I have a job of supervising them, teaching them few skills here and there. So yeah,
Yeah. Do you find that some of the stereotypes that Will here creates in his videos, do they hold true in South Africa as well?
of course, I was showing my colleagues our videos today, and they were like, "Yes, it is."
Good. I'm so glad all neurologists are the same everywhere.
All neurosurgeons the same.
Neurosurgeons.
It's so
Exactly.
funny. I wonder why that is. I mean, just personality types attracted to different,
Yeah,
skill sets, I suppose,
you
but
you talked about having to do a lot of research to stay on, because a new paper could come out, and so you have to like really do a lot of work to stay on top of that. Uh, uh, Me, on the other hand, like every specialty in medicine has always been the same since the beginning of time, and so as far as
mm.
their personalities, and so I'm a little off the hook there in terms of maybe it limits the amount of research I have to do.
Also yours are just fiction. So there's
Yeah,
that.
there's a tiny bit of truth. I have to have a little bit of truth in there, but it's all kind of surface level.
He's doing much nobler
Uh,
work than you are. I
Oh,
mean,
of
no
course
offense,
not.
but
You help people see.
yeah, I do.
Yeah.
That's I like doing that. I don't save lives or anything, but I save eyes. I'll do that from time
and
to
that
time.
almost sounds like lives.
Good one.
How long do you feel like it sounds like this is really just getting good as far as your social media presence is just you're just getting started here. It's been less than barely 3 years that you've been doing this. Are you having more opportunities to branch out and try to do other things? What or you said you obviously you need some help, right? That's
Yes,
that's
it
that's
seems
the
you're
first
growing.
the first job is to find someone that can help you expand this thing because you have a lot of fantastic content and things to talk about.
I think there is an like a there is I don't think there's anyone debunking, or so there are lots of people who talk about sexual health, but
Mhm.
having more than 3 million followers, probably the biggest or one of the biggest sexual health platforms or communities, I feel like I have this job to raise awareness and educate people, empower them with their sexual health. Because once you're empowered, you can take better decisions to protect yourself. You can, once you have a confidence, you can communicate better with your partner. You improve your sexual life. You improve your relationship. So it plays a big part in your life as a whole. So, and I want to have lots of ideas, lots of topics I want to talk about to give back. I'm not. Am I giving back? Yeah, I'm giving this. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
So
Give it
yeah,
back to society.
yeah. Of course.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's I have lots of goals. Um,
Good.
I just got married last month, so and I'm still in the honeymoon
Oh,
phase. So
congratulations.
thank you.
Awesome. That's
So
great.
so once I settle, I'm gonna start producing contents and empowering.
Oh, yeah, there's it's a marathon, not a sprint. But both marriage and making content. All right. So
That's
take your
right.
time. All right. Enjoy your honeymoon phase. Well, let's take a quick break and we'll come right back with Dr. Saleh. Hey, Kristen, do you know why a stethoscope is so difficult to use?
Because there's no heartbeat in an eyeball.
That's actually a really good point. But also, the heart is quiet. The
Mm.
sounds can be distant, and you're in a noisy environment trying to listen to all the beeps and boops.
Mm.
But with Echo Health's 3M Littman Core digital stethoscope, it's easier than ever. You get 40 times sound amplification, active background noise cancellation. Even an ophthalmologist could hear the heart.
Yeah, I really could have used that before I had to do 10 minutes of CPR. And it leads to earlier detection, better outcomes. Definitely something that's personally meaningful for us.
We have a special offer for our U.S. listeners. Visit echohealth.com/KKH and use code KNOCK50 to experience Echo's digital stethoscope technology. That's EKOHealth/KKH and use KNOCK50 to get $50 off plus a free case plus free engraving with this exclusive offer, which ends April 30th. All right, we are back with Dr. Saleh, and Dr. Saleh, I decided to try to put together a little game for us to play. I hope you don't mind. This is something that I call sex collaboration. Sex collaboration. That's the name of the game. So, you as a physician who talks a lot about sexual health and reproductive health, uh, I thought, okay, well, what if, say, you as a TikToker got in contact with a TikToker from another specialty. It could be any specialty. Could be a cardiologist, could be a radiologist, could be an ophthalmologist. And together, you and this other person had to create a piece of content that was at the intersection of those two specialties, sexual health and whatever else it may be.
Okay.
And so,
Do a
Kristen here,
collab video.
it's a collaboration video. Kristen is going to give us the name of a specialty that you have to collaborate with regard to sexual health, and I'm going to help you. We're going to do this together,
Let's do it.
and we'll try to come up with something that makes sense.
Right.
Okay.
What would the video be?
So Kristen, what is our first? And I don't know what she's gonna say. She has a list of like every specialty. I sent her, and so she's just going to randomly choose these things. All right. So what is going to be our first sex collaboration?
Okay, I'll start with a softball to get you warmed up here. Infectious disease.
Oh, well,
That's
that's easy, right?
that's easy.
Yes, that's it. It's a softball.
Safe sex. There you go. What are the kind of infectious diseases do you come across that you see in your day-to-day life with regard to sexual health?
Chlamydia and gonorrhea is very common. I've seen quite few of syphilis when they
Oh,
come
really? Yeah.
with their rashes on their bodies. That's um, we get shingles, especially in the HIV community.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah. So
There's a lot of things we could do there. I could even talk about that from an eye
yes,
perspective,
exactly.
actually.
Herpes.
Yes, absolutely. Which is, I don't think I see that as much as you do. But fortunately, in fact, syphilis is something that we learn a lot about, but I very rarely see that. So maybe you probably get a lot more syphilis cases,
Yeah,
in your neck of the woods than we see.
definitely, definitely.
All
Good.
right, give us another one.
Okay.
So that was easy. We got that. That was a
Okay.
warm up.
Yep, that one was the warm up. Okay. Um, emergency medicine.
Hmm.
Okay. Let's see. Sex emergencies. Can you think of any?
Penis fracture.
Oh,
There you go.
wow.
I'm sorry.
Because that might be something. No, this is good. This is good. But it might be something that a lot of people don't realize is a thing. Because there's no actual bone in the penis. Can you tell us what
What
that
is
is
that?
exactly?
Yeah, what's happening in that?
It's just something that you call a urologist for, is my understanding.
And not a radiologist. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That was actually my idea. If you would say radiology, then would have said penis fracture, and then we would explain that there is no bone there.
Great.
And
We're gonna
yeah,
have to.
That would actually be a good video.
That's true. You could go with that.
Radiology is on the list. So
Uh,
there, you just knocked one off
but that does sound like
there.
I
Yeah.
think that probably is an emergency. If I happen to fracture my penis, I would probably go to the emergency department.
I would
So,
imagine it would be a very painful experience.
yes, let's hope that doesn't happen. Okay,
Okay,
we got it.
Moving on.
moving
Emergency
on.
medicine. All right.
Okay.
That was a good one.
That was a good one. Ooh, okay, this one might be tricky. Neurology.
Oh,
Syphilis.
neurology.
We're
Oh,
back
Syphilis.
to syphilis.
syphilis.
Yeah.
Neurosyphilis, right?
Neurosyphilis.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. That's
Yeah,
again, you don't see
yeah.
it often.
That sounds horrifying.
I think that's why actually I don't see syphilis very much in
It goes to
ophthalmology
neuro.
because it takes a long time to get neurosyphilis.
True.
And
True.
and so by the time we have symptoms in the eye, if you have intraocular syphilis, then it is by definition neurosyphilis because the eye is just an extension of it's part of
Right.
the nervous system. And so how long does it take to get neurosyphilis? I
I
don't even
think
it's
like 5 to 10 years. I think.
yeah. It
So
has to
something
be
like that.
untreated. It
Yeah.
has to be untreated for a long time before it actually can extend to the nervous
Yeah.
system.
That just does not
Okay.
sound like any fun.
So if a neurologist comes to you, be like, "Hey, let's put a TikTok together. Let's combine some sexual health with neurology, neurosyphilis." There we go. Okay,
Okay.
Maybe you use that to convince people to go get their syphilis treated sooner
there you go.
than 5
Definitely.
to 10
Absolutely.
Definitely. I
years.
think once you have a rash, that's already quite some time has passed.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
and these are the things you see in rural communities where I work. People don't come when
Mm,
Hmm.
they have a pimple. They come with that pimple has grown into like a 5 by 5 centimeter cancer. So we get to
yeah.
Right.
see all these rare conditions and things.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh.
Sounds like the farmers out here.
Yeah. It sounds like the rural medicine videos that I've
Yeah.
put together.
It's
Kind
got to
of
be a
can
really big
do.
problem before
Yeah.
it's important enough to go and get it treated. But okay, let's see. I honestly have no idea how you will do this one. Orthopedic surgery.
Oh, we already did the
Yeah, you already did
fracture.
that.
Um.
Also, there's not
Ooh,
actually a bone there.
bones. Ooh. Um.
Hmm.
Uh. Ooh.
Do
Let's
you,
see. How, I
sexual,
don't know.
sexual health?
Maybe there may be some positions that don't have sex on a ladder. That probably a bad place because then
Really
you
just
could
good
fall and
advice in general.
sure break a leg. I
Erectile
feel like
dysfunction? Bone? No?
maybe your bone just doesn't work.
Okay, next.
All kinds of
Oh
things.
my goodness.
I'm gonna go with
Okay.
let's go with
The
no
ladder
sex
is
on a
the
ladder.
yeah.
No sex
Okay.
on a ladder.
All right. All right,
Don't do
let's
that.
do
That
how
was
many more
tough.
you want to do? One more, two more?
Let's do like maybe one or two more.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, let's do cardiology.
Cardiology. Okay. Cardiology and sexual health. Let's see. How about, I mean, you always hear like you're not healthy enough for sexual activity.
Yeah,
That's like a
exactly.
phrase. A lot of that has to do with cardiovascular disease. Do you have that? Have you ever had that conversation with people?
We do. I was thinking of
Yeah.
Viagra also. Use of
Oh
Viagra
yeah.
and cardiovascular.
That's good.
What kind of conditions do you have? Do you qualify for Viagra or not?
What
But
kind of people would not qualify for Viagra from a cardiovascular standpoint?
oh, you had the cardiologist already. Should have asked that question.
That's
I don't know
true.
about the exact criteria. And the other thing is like I wanted to use some stats in this podcast, but I see like for like pap smear, you guys have different guidelines than us. So
Oh yeah.
it's so I'm not sure the criteria. But if you have cardiovascular conditions, then we
Something to
usually
think
go
about
through
for sure.
something to think about. We go through a list of conditions, measure the risk.
Because that medication itself is a vasodilator,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so it could cause a drop in your blood pressure or
Mm.
something like that, I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah, of course, yeah.
I'm really out over my skis here. I don't talk about blood pressure very often, but
Or
I
Viagra.
believe that or Viagra. This is probably the first time this has ever come up on this podcast. All right, we got that's a
Okay.
good collaboration. That's a good sex collaboration there. Okay, let's do one more.
Okay,
Let's do
one
one more.
more. Let me think. Okay, well, we got it. No, we kind of already did ophthalmology with the
Yeah,
neurosyphilis.
we get it. Ophthalmology is
Um,
easy.
okay.
Don't get don't get gonorrhea in your eye. That's all I'll tell you.
Okay, this one is this one's kind of hard. You want to end on a hard one or a
Hard one. Let's
okay,
do it.
anesthesiology.
Oh, anesthesiology and sexual health.
You're the one that wrote that list,
I,
so
I, did, I did put that on that list. I
Well,
wasn't thinking about what we could do
to be
for
honest,
these.
I do sexual and reproductive health, where we can
Uh-huh.
talk about pregnancy
there you go.
Perfect. There you
Yes,
go.
I imagine there are probably a lot of misconceptions about everything related to pregnancy,
a lot.
but
Definitely.
specifically maybe some epidural information.
Be perfect. That's great. I love it. There you
Also,
go.
Yeah.
Just trying to give you some content ideas here, Dr. Saleh. So anyway, that's good.
especially
All right.
the pregnancy one, especially people need to know that there are no ways to choose sex of your baby in advance. I've had a
Oh,
question
okay.
when
Oh, yeah.
somebody messaged me, DM'd me asking what she must do to get a twin. And I told her to pray.
Ooh.
And she was very offended. She's like, "You don't want to tell me I'll go to someone else." I'm like, "There is no way."
Right.
So, yeah.
Can't
So,
plan that out.
uh-uh.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's probably a big source of content. Man, I can't imagine that you get these comments and you just never thought that that would be something that you would that would be helpful for people to have information from a professional, about this. And so um, it must be kind of fun for you to like to find these little things in society, these little gaps in the education of anybody, really, just the public education, and
Yeah.
so
Right.
to be able to shed light on, I think that's great.
What would you say for how can we close all these gaps? Like, why are they there in the first place? What can we do to better inform people?
I think we need to start the conversations about sex. It's
Mhm.
like a taboo that many people avoid it. And once I think there are like few TV series that is out there that's starting to talk about sexual health and sex in general, even in South
Mm,
Africa. I think these are good because let people open the conversation and talk about such conditions, and then you'll
yeah,
be more confident to communicate with your own doctor, with your partner. Uh, Most of these questions I get, so I think I'm not sure sex education in US how good it is, but I can imagine like some poor countries in Africa or Asia where there's no sex education. That's probably most of my questions are coming from.
yeah,
And I
Right.
usually ask like, "How old are you?"
mhm,
Obviously, uh, I'm generally surprised when a 17 years old said I kissed my boyfriend and my period is delayed. So I'm like try to calm them down,
right,
educate a little bit. Um, so yeah, so it makes me happy that I can, even if my video educates one person, that's gives me like a feeling of a
yeah.
rewarding feeling. So
I think
yeah,
Yeah.
you can bank on the fact that you're educating far more than one person for
Yeah. Do you
sure.
think that
It's great
social
stuff.
media as a way to educate people is maybe more effective right now than a formal education system? Or at least a good alternative if there doesn't exist a formal education system? Do you think social media is a great way to go about doing that?
definitely, definitely. I mean, I am member of few sexual health organizations, and the way they educate is like through webinars and Zoom meetings. I don't think many people attend those things. It's not, especially
Mhm.
not our teenagers and young people.
Yeah.
So I try to even to do it on social media. It's not something that anyone like if you come on social media and start talking about a lecture, nobody will listen. So it's very difficult
Mhm.
even for me to like simplify. the words um, in a short, fun video because nobody had the attention span of like 2 minutes unless watching your amazing videos. So, but otherwise, I might try to make them short, simple, to the point, to educate and to ignite some curiosity. Like if you're curious about this thing, go read about it and learn. So
Yeah,
social media is definitely the way to go. And yeah,
completely
It gets
agree.
back to what we always say. We need more doctors on social media,
Yeah,
putting factual information out there where it's easily digestible for people.
exactly. That's the word. Easily digestible.
well, let's take a break and we'll come back with a few listener stories. All right, we are back with Dr. Saleh, and we are going to take a look at some of our favorite medical stories that were sent in by the listeners. All right, so we have Stephanie. Stephanie says, I was at the OBGYN's office to check on my IUD as I was nervous it might have moved. This was the first time visiting this OBGYN. She was taking some medical history and asking where I had my IUD placed. I nervously repeated the question to her and responded with, in my uterus? while while pointing.
Oh, really hammer the point home.
She started laughing and said, "No, where were you when you had the IUD
IUD.
IUD IUD placed?" Everything ended up being fine with IUD, and I'm just happy I responded with medically accurate information.
That's a very
You-
funny
great.
I
story.
mean, it's not a wrong answer. You got to be
That's
careful how
right.
you word your questions.
I like that she pointed to
Right.
like let the OB right here.
Well, I would
It was in
imagine if your OB, if you think your OB is asking you where an IUD goes, you might have some
maybe they
questions
weren't
about the
sure.
qualifications. Yeah, maybe she's trying to help.
All right, that's good. I like that one. Thank you, Stephanie. All right, the second story comes from Tim. My name is Tim, and I'm third year medical student applying to ortho. So maybe I ought to address this email to I tending bro and Mrs. Bro. There you go. In any case, I just wanted to share a story I heard from one of my clerkships this year. This psychiatry attending I had was European, so she had to frequently fly back and forth between Europe and the United States for personal as well as professional reasons. One trip, she was just sitting there when the dreaded "Is there a doctor on board?"
Oh
call came.
no!
Have you ever been in that situation,
Yeah,
Dr. Saleh?
coming back from my honeymoon.
Really?
What?
Oh no!
Yes.
Oh no! That's not how you want to end that
No,
trip.
I enjoy
Oh
it. I
man!
was like, actually, I was making a video for my TikTok. There's a TikTok
Yeah.
trend is any medical professional on the
Yeah.
board, and then you stand and sit down. And halfway through it, the announcement came. So
Oh
I
my
obviously
goodness.
stood and the lady had Meniere's disease. So I knew something about vertigo. I was like, I need to Google this first. But
Hey,
yeah,
do you know who started that trend, by the way?
who? No.
It was me.
Really? Wow.
The 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 I made the video like over a year ago, and it's the audio I think a lot of people
Yeah, yeah,
use
yeah.
is
Yeah.
coming from my original video. But anyway,
Okay.
my claim to fame is as a meme on Twitter, on TikTok.
Well, I think he would be a lot more useful in a medical emergency on a plane
There's a
than you
lot of
would.
doctors
I
who
think
would
we'd
be.
be in good hands.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's get back to the story here. So, is there a doctor on board? Call. Nobody responded. And it came again. Is there a doctor on board? Sensing it was her duty as a physician, she went up and offered help, but did preface it by saying she's a psychiatrist. That's exactly what I would do as well as an ophthalmologist. Turns out it was an older gentleman on a beta blocker dehydrated at high altitude. So he just passed out, likely due to orthostasis. Long story short, my attending stayed with the guy the entire flight, made sure he got hydrated, and everything turned out okay. When the plane landed, one of the flight attendants came up and asked my attending for her medical license, just so the airline can properly document it. At that very moment, this older gentleman, who's been sitting next to the passed out gentleman the entire time, goes, "Oh, here, you can use mine."
What?
Only to find out that the other guy was an orthopedic surgeon. And when asked why he didn't respond to the physician on board call, he goes, "Oh, I saw him pass out and checked right away. He didn't break a bone."
Oh my goodness.
Very good.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That's good. I love
I'm
that.
not sure if that's true or just a really,
It's a pretty good joke.
long
I
joke,
could
but
totally see, maybe a little embellishment, but
yeah.
you could see it
Oh
happening.
my goodness.
Thank you for those stories. Send us yours at knockknockhigh@human-content.com. Dr. Saleh, thank you so much for joining us. It's really been a pleasure to hear your perspective on all things medicine, social media, sexual health. It's been really great. We want to know, I'm sure our audience wants to know where they can find you,
They
what you're
can.
working on.
So I go by Dr. Sia on my social media. So Dr. Sia on TikTok and Instagram, and Dr. Sia on YouTube and Facebook.
Awesome.
Right.
Definitely check out the TikTok, and I always encourage people to go check out the videos on YouTube as well. And so have a good look through all your content, everybody. It's really great stuff. So thanks
Yeah,
again.
keep up the great work.
Yeah, keep it up. People really need what you're putting out there, and so yeah, you're doing awesome work.
But first enjoy your new
Yeah, yeah,
life
yeah,
as
yeah. Absolutely.
newlyweds.
Don't make any content for. Don't worry about it. The audience, they'll be
They'll be
there.
there when you get back, when you're ready.
Exactly,
Good.
exactly. So
Thank,
thanks again for joining
thank you
us.
guys for having me. It was a pleasure.
Well, what a fun conversation with Dr. Saleh. What did you think of sex collaboration, Kristen? Did you like it?
That was a pretty good game. Yeah.
You were a little nervous about whenever we had to come up with like some kind of sexual health related game.
This can be a dicey topic. Sure.
I think it was fun though. Hopefully we
Yeah.
gave him some content ideas too, some
Yeah, you never know.
collaborations that he can do with other
Yeah.
types of
Maybe other
doctors.
people have some thoughts too. They can leave them in the
Yeah,
comments.
let us know if you have any what you thought about that, and if you have any other suggestions for guests or games or anything. There's lots of ways to hit us up. Email us knockknockhigh@human-content.com. Visit us on all the social media channels: TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all the things. And you can also hang out with us and our Human Content Podcast family on Instagram and TikTok at Human Content Pods. Thank you to all the listeners who are leaving feedback and great reviews for us. We really appreciate it. If you subscribe and comment on your favorite podcasting app or on YouTube, we can give you a shout out. Like right now, we got Zen Vibes 1892 on YouTube who said, very fun and enjoyable to watch. Thank you, Zen
Thank
Vibes.
you.
That's very zen of you. And keep sending us, all your stories. We love hearing those as well. We're also on YouTube. Full episodes, video episodes are up every week on my YouTube channel at @dglockenflecken. We also have a Patreon. Lots of fun perks, bonus episodes where we react to medical shows and movies. Come spend some time with the other members of the Knock Knock High community where we are. We're there. I'm going to check on it just right after we're done recording here. Early ad-free episode access, interactive Q&A live stream events, and a lot more. Patreon.com/Glockenflecken or go to glockenflecken.com. Speaking of Patreon community perks, new member shout out to Ray W. Thank you, Ray.
Hi, Ray.
Hi, Ray. Shout out to all the Jonathans as always. We got Patrick, Brianna L, Edward K, Caitlin C, KL, Lucia C, Mary H, Mr. Granddaddy, Omar, Stephen G, Jonathan A, Javer W, Jonathan F, Leah, Marion W, Mark, Roskbox, and Sharon.
I love that we
S.
now have 2 Jonathans in our Jonathan tier.
It's wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah,
I really
we're getting very
love
meta
it.
over there.
If any other Jonathans out there, you want to be a Jonathan Patreon, that would be it would work really great on this podcast. Also, Patreon roulette time. All right, this is for someone in the emergency medicine realm of our Patreon. So let's do a drum roll. Oh, I did like a little thing, like a little chirp.
Yeah, a little horn at the end.
Shout out to Tuspa Mouse for being a patron. Thank you so much. And thank you all for listening. We're your hosts, Will and Kristen Flannery, aka the Glockenfleckens. Special thanks to our guests, Dr. Siyamak, Saleh, and our executive producers, Will Flannery, Kristen Flannery, Aaron Corney, Rob Goldman, Shanti Brook. Our editor and engineer is Jason Portizo. Our music is by Omer Benzvi. To learn about our Knock Knock Hi's program disclaimer and ethics policy, submission verification and licensing terms, and HIPAA release terms, I don't have to say this you can say it from time to time.
No, you're doing just fine.
You can go to glockenflecken.com or reach out to us at knockknockhi@human-content.com with any questions, concerns, or any fun medical puns or other better jokes than puns. Knock Knock Hi is a human content production.
Knock, knock. Goodbye.
Thanks for watching the episode. You can find more on that playlist over there. If you prefer to listen, or you just had your eyes dilated, you can binge full episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Or join the party over on Patreon, where you get early access episodes, hang out with us, get lots of exclusive bonus content. Hope you subscribe, leave a comment below. Let us know what you think.